Well, g'day everyone, it's NQ Explorers again. We've back up in the North Queensland Goldfields. We've arrived in the Goldfields and set up our camp. Not quite up to your standards, Aussie Pete. Not with the military precision we see you setting up a camp, but we've got a little fireplace here for a fire tonight, and we've got a solar panel there for a bit of lighting tonight to charge the batteries. So we're just going to have a cup of tea and we'll get out on the creeks and see if we can find something. So we'll be back shortly. Okay, cup of tea time at camp. Check this out, Twinings have just put this out. Twinings Australian afternoon tea. Full flavoured strength for Australian taste. There you go. We'll give that a bit of a bash and see what it's like. Okay, well we're at a confluence of two big creeks. Now this creek here is a shorter and smaller creek than this one. This is the major creek. They're both drained gold bearing areas. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run up in here and have a look. I can see a bit of slate sticking out of the ground just down on the right hand side. See if there's any nice riffles in there. I can dig some samples out. And there's a big water hole up in there with a rock bar. So I'll try this side of the rock bar. And then I've got my rocker set up there where I've got a good source of water. Mrs. NQ is going to head down the creek with the AT Pro, see if she can pick up a nugget or some little relics like last time. So I'll go and dig some gravel and we'll get started on the rocking. Okay, well I'm on the smaller creek line now, just up there about 150 metres. The creek goes around a fairly sharp bend, so I'll try that inside bend if I don't get anything out of this little spot here. We've got a nice bit of slate sticking out of the creek, a little bit of a boil hole there, and of course it'll, I'm about 10 metres from the confluence of the big creek, so this water should be slackening right off here and hopefully it'll drop some gold in behind this rock. Well, let's keep chopping away at this crevice here, and I'll get 4 or 5 buckets of gravel out of here if I can. And it's pretty soft. It's just slate, clay slate, and it's that blue-grey decomposed clay I was talking about last time. It's coming out of that slot there. So I'll keep chipping away at this slate and get my sample out of here. And we'll get a little bit of fine gold. Yeah, well that's the extent of it there. It's like a little slot that runs up through there. This is hard rock here. So hopefully it'll be depositing in that area there. So I'll get 3 or 4 buckets out of there and we'll see how we go. Well, I've just changed the angle on the box slightly. I think I was losing too much over the bottom riffle. It was too steeply sloping, and if you put too much water in too fast, it'll you'll lose your fines over this bottom riffle here. So what I've done, I've just lifted the front up a bit on the tailings that I've already washed through, and actually it's had a noticeable effect immediately on that carpet. If you can see, I don't know if you probably can't see that, but where the water's running down now, I'm getting a lot more fine gravel building up, whereas before it was just, I think I was just losing it over the front. So I mean, slow and steady he does it. You can get through a lot of gravel, but you just got to get everything right. It takes a few buckets to get set up and organised and get the feel of what's going on. But this stuff once again has got that clay adhering to it, so I've just got to give it a fair old wash. The clay dissolves into that pale grey dirty water we're getting there, and that's hopefully that's going to have the gold in it. So we're about halfway through this first run, and I'll get a couple more buckets before I do a clean up. I was actually reading an old timers, there's an article written in the 1870s about rock cradling, and it said just clean up at the end of the day or when there's the gold's building up on the riffles visibly. So you'd have to be on some pretty rich ground to see that, so I wouldn't mind being in that situation. Anyway, back in a minute. Okay, I've done about 6 buckets of gravel through the rocker. I'm going to do a clean up now. I don't like to go much further than that just with these prospecting runs, because if this is a barren spot, there's no point working it all day and cleaning up at the end and finding you've got nothing. So every few rocker runs I'll do a clean up, and if I'm not getting anything I'll just try another spot in the creek or another crevice or something. So we'll see how we go with this one, and if it's productive we'll keep at it, otherwise we'll move to another spot. Okay, I'll be back with see what I get in the pan shortly. Okay, well that first spot was a duffer. I didn't get a speck out of there. A lot of heavy minerals and black sand, but no gold. Okay, I've moved into the main creek. You can see there's this big long water hole here, and right in the middle is this massive boulder, and your classic gold trap situation here. You can see that sand that's been deposited behind that boulder as the water boils over, and you get that low pressure area behind the boulder. All this country rock is at right angles to the flow, so this is all good. So I'll clean out that sand out of that crevice, and there's a couple of other areas there I'll work into those, and I'll see what I can get out of that. So this looks a bit more promising than that last spot actually, so we'll have a go at this. Well, Mrs. NQ just interrupted me on the two-way. She's got a rip of a find here. I just stopped digging that crevice. It looks like it's a bell off a bullock or a horse team or something. It's got horse teams. It's actually got writing on it. And on the other side it says something horse teams. So it's a proper teamster's bell off an old dray or obviously a horse team. That's what it says it's off. So that's probably what it's off. So the teamsters could find their charges at night. They got the bell on them. Good one. What a ripper of a find. Sounds pretty good too. Okay. Oh well, she's just working down this creek, and I'll just stay up there on the rocker box and keep digging those crevices. Back shot. Just another shot of that teamster's bell that Mrs. NQ got. It actually's got writing on it. It says success to, and it's got 3 in the word IN, horse teams, and I can't make out what it says here on this side. That may have been some sort of, maybe it was a prize bell or something in some sort of competition, who knows. I'll research that, and then any information I can get on it I'll subtitle on the video. Good one, nice find. Well, she's got another target over here in the creek, so we'll go and investigate that one. Well, I was just coming back from the excitement of that Mrs. NQ horse teamster's bell find, and I found this bit of creek line, which is interesting. It's you can see there the slate is dipping vertically, and it's at right angles to the flow of the creek. So if I don't get anything up at that other area, I'll come down and try here this afternoon or tomorrow maybe. So this looks a promising area. You can see all this fine sand's been deposited on the downside of these riffles, natural riffles. This could be a good little gold trap. Anyway, that's another spot to try. So we've got plenty of options here if we're not getting any gold in the spot we're at. Well, that's where I was crevicing behind that boulder. Mrs. NQ just came up to check the spot and she found a button. A surface find on the creek gravel here, just near where I was digging. An old timer's button with it's branded too. I can see the name on it. I can't read it, but I'll get back to you with some details, or I'll subtitle them anyway. So that just goes to show you, being a surface find, it was probably washed down this year. So there could be more relics and coins up in this creek. So that's worth heading up that way, the way she's going, and we'll see what we come up with. Well, this is my third spot I've prospected. It was that little shale bar, rock bar that I was showing you after the little bell find. I saw that bar on the way back from that bell. I've put 1 bucket of gravel through the rocker and I got gold. So let's go back there. You can see I just got a little flake there. There's a few little specks in here. You might be able to see that, but it's a beautiful piece of gold. One thing about the gold up in this goldfield, it's very pure. It's just straight up 24 carat gold. Further to the south in the centre of the Cape, a lot of the goldfields have silver in the area, and quite often you find nuggets with very high silver content. So the golds are like can even be a silver colour, but it's definitely not that buttery yellow you get here, which is a real pure 24 carat gold. So I'll go back down to that spot down there, just past this end of this water hole, there's that slate bar, and I'll get a few more buckets. So now I know I'm getting little flakes of gold there. I'll persist with that. Okay, I'll be back shortly. So what we do with the gold when we get the little fine gold like this, we use these little snuffer bottles. Just a matter of getting the air out of the bottle, and the bottle will pick up that little bit of gold, and you end up with all the gold in the bottom of the bottle. So very efficient way to pick it up. I'll just go swirl this pan around a bit more. There might be a few more pieces in there. That's some nice little pieces I got out of that little rock bar, and it wasn't deep. It was just a slight riffle on the surface in that sand wash from the last wet season. Okay, on we go. Well, I've got about half a dozen nice little pieces of gold out of that bar down the creek now, so they're in a snuffer bottle there on the gold pan, so hopefully at the end of the video I'll have enough gold I can show you what I found. So I'm going to come back here in the morning and keep working on that sandy bar. The sand downstream of the bar is producing the fine gold, so that's good. We found a little spot. It was our third hit, but and it took us a few buckets to find it, but that's what prospecting is all about. It's a little it's not a real rich spot, but I'll just work my way down. There's a series of those rock bars, and we'll see if we can keep picking up fine gold as we go down that way. So okay, off we go. Well, let's took some digging out of the creek. Look at the size of this horseshoe. Great big draft horse or a Clydesdale or something. Massive horseshoe. That's alright. Oh well, the grass is too high on the banks, but we're just restricted to going up and down the creek line, which is fine. So there's little relics in here, and maybe there might be a little gold nugget. On we go. We're on our way back to camp for dinner now, but on the way we just got a nice 76 signal on the AT Pro, and it was a little buckle, square buckle. Obviously a bit of bridle equipment. So there's plenty of targets in the creek. We've got the iron discrimination down pretty low at around 25, but and we're digging everything above that. So you have to, because it could be a little piece of gold in here. But anyway, we'll keep moving on. Okay, well tonight we're having roast turkey. Pretty flash for a bush camp, but that's because we've got one of these little cob ovens. These are brilliant. It's a works off a coconut fuel source. It's a recyclable sort of compressed coconut, like a heat bead, and works like a normal oven. So it'll take about an hour and a half to do that roast turkey and vegetables in there. And when they've done, we'll might knock up a bit of a damper and use the rest of the heat beads on the damper. So we've saved a can of beer for the damper. So we'll be back with the damper cooking shortly. Okay, it's cooking with NQ. I'm just going to knock up a bit of a damper to put in the cob tonight with the veggies to go with the roast turkey. So what I've got here is 3.5 cups of self-raising flour. In she goes. And into that you add a can of beer to make the dough. Just mix it all together. Knead it all together, and I'll get a bit of salt and stick it in there, and I'll come up with the dough, and then I'll stick it in the cob. So I'll be back shortly with the dough, and we'll put it in the cob, and we'll have it in there for about 40 minutes. Okay, I've got the beer batter damper dough ready. Look at this, beautiful. So I'm going to get the cob started up and stick it in there for about an hour, and do some roast veggies, and this will be a dessert with a bit of golden syrup. So there you go, that looks pretty good, eh? No worries, we'll be back with the unveiling when she's cooked. Okay, there she goes. We've got the damper on the cob. 45 minutes, check it out and see how much is risen, and then cut it up and put a bit of golden syrup on it. Righto, no worries, we'll just have to wait for 40 minutes. Time for a couple of beers. Well, it's day 2 now. We've come right up this creek here, this big tributary creek. We've covered about 800 metres up this creek. We've carried the rock on all the gear in, and what we've found is there's no water up here, so we're going to carry it all back out again. But that's prospecting, and that's the problem the old timers faced up here, because from now on, this is May, there'll be no rain till Christmas, and this will be dry like this for the rest of the year. So they used to dig, either they left the field or they used to dig large amounts of gravel and stockpile them on the banks and then wash them when the rain came. So they had to do a lot of work for nothing for a long time, which is apparently what I'm going to have to do. But what I'm going to do though, I'll just go down here. It's not a, I've taken the rocker box back down to where that water hole we were at yesterday, and I'll lift the pan and shovel here. What I'm going to do is dry pan some of the stuff in here, because this creek is reasonably remote, not so easily accessed by modern like weekend prospectors. Certainly the old timers were here. There's horseshoes and everything in the creek, but we'll try some of these boulder spots and do a bit of dry panning and see if we can pick up a few little specks up in here. So and then after we'll go back down to that water hole and to a place where we can actually wash the gravel. So Mrs. NQ is still on the AT Pro up the creek there. She just picked another big draft horseshoe up, so I'll just go down here and do a bit of dry panning. Okay, well I'll just what I'm going to do is a bit of dry panning here while Mrs. NQ hunts up the creek at the AT Pro. You can see it behind that boulder there, classic low pressure zone where hopefully the gold's deposited there. So I'll just shovel it out into the pan, and I'll just keep working this till I'm down to the fines like that. I've worked this pan already. Just the same as principle as wet panning. It's just you've got to get the gold in the base of the pan, agitate it, then get it to hold on those ripples. And then I'll check this for any fine gold. If I start picking up a lot of fine gold in this area, even though it's a fair old walk down to the water hole, I might start bringing some buckets up and transferring them back down so I can wash them through the rocker. But I'll just prospect along here a bit and see if I can find, like sometimes you can find a fairly rich little spot where you get quite a bit of fine gold, so I'll try that. I'll just go move up and down this creek for a few hours and see what I can get, and then if I get anything decent I'll head back down to the wash, and we'll put it through the rocker with some big bucketfuls. So I mean this looks promising. I mean we're fair away from the main traffic area, so there wouldn't have been too many modern day weekend prospectors up here, so we'll get on with it. Well, another find in the creek from Mrs. NQ with the AT Pro. It's a little hatchet head. Been in the creek for a long time. Probably been here since the 1870s, this one. See the layers of rice coming off her. We'll take it home and boil him up and see how it looks. So we'll just keep these old relics on a bit of a display at home. So yeah, it's a good little find. But I'll just keep continuing down the creek. Well, there's a surface find. Pretty significant size too. It's the head off a stamper battery. She's come down the creek years and years ago and stuck up against this old rock. Cast iron. Actually, up to upstream from here, there's a gold stamping battery. I'm not sure, I can't remember how many head was on that battery, but there's a couple of Burdan pans there too, so all this old processing equipment. Heaven knows how that big lump of iron got down this creek, but anyway, we're probably a couple of kilometres from the battery, but anyway, bit of a surface find in the old Goldfields. On we go down the creek. Well, Mrs. NQ's just tunning up along the edge of this water hole along the creek bank. Up here we've got a bit of rubber vine, and up on the hill there was actually an old school, but she's just unearthed a beautiful old relic here. We'll just put it out here to display it. It's a little brass keg tap. I haven't actually seen one like that before. You can see where the actual tap section goes through there, and look at that ornate little spout on it. Beautiful old brass keg tap. We do find a few of those up here, but I've never seen one like that, so that's a good find. And she's just found another lovely old relic up here. It's an old spoon, so we'll go and investigate that next. Well, here's a spoon find. Look, she's hunted up in this little crevice area here. There's a little bit of a washaway in the creek bank, and she's unearthed a lovely old Goldfields spoon. Now, last time I was a bit hasty and dismissed it, and it was actually 1866 Sheffield silver, so until I get a hallmark on that I won't make any judgment. That's a lovely solid item, so it probably is silver. Just been laying in the creek back here for 130 years. So that's a good bit of hunting from Mrs. NQ. A lovely old relic. So we'll just stick on the, you can see all this rubber vine here, so there's obviously been an old house or some old camps here. So it's really worth hunting this area. On we go. Well, I just went back down the creek to the rocker box after the spoon excitement to get the lunch. We've got ham, cheese and pickles. Mrs. NQ's even made these little ice packs up to keep them cold, so in this hot country we still have a cold lunch, which is handy. And on the way back up from the rocker box, I made this surface find in the creek. It's an old griddle iron. How about that? So the old timers used to press their clothes before they went out digging. They were well dressed. Good one. Okay, we'll have a bit of lunch and we'll be back with some more finds shortly. Well, as you can see, I've got a nice run of little flakes of gold along here now out of that little rock bar. So that's between half a dozen bucketfuls of gravel to get that little bit of gold. Not a rich deposit obviously, but I'm still picking up the flakes, so I'll just persist with it, but that's okay. We're getting a little bit of gold. Mrs. NQ's picking up the relics, so been a good day out so far. On we go. Well, that's a tailings pile from today's little bit of rocker boxing. And we got a little bit of fine gold out of it. That wasn't bad actually, that little rock bar. Like I said, you can get the little spots where you get, you know, a dozen little pieces like that. Often you get them up bigger than that to grain of rice size instead of the flakes, but none of that today. Never mind. I might get the GTI out now and just run it up and down the creeks, or up in this area over here, past that tree. There's some old house sites up in there, but the grass is pretty bad. I'll go and have a look and see what it's like, and maybe it might be too tough to swing a call, but we'll stay in the creek if not. Okay, back shortly. Well, Mrs. NQ just picked up this solid brass item. It's some sort of ornate frame or fitting of some sort. Very heavy. Definitely brass. I can't see any maker's name on it, but it's obviously been moulded, and it's got this loop attachment. Looks like a tiara. But anyway, if anyone would be able to identify that, that'd be handy. I've never seen anything like that. Okay, on we go. Okay, well, it's been about 50 minutes. We're just going to check this damper in the cob. And here's a big unveiling. We'll see how she's gone. Oh, check that out. Beautiful. She's risen beautifully. Put a bit of roast veggies around there, and the damper will be dessert. I'll pull the damper off, and we'll have that with a bit of golden syrup later. No worries. That's worked out well. Well, what you can see here is it's a battery dam. It was built for a gold battery. That's the ruins of the old batteries up behind me there, and this was built in the 1870s for a water supply for the gold crushing, the stamp heads. and it generally holds water most of the year. Some years it does dry up, but it's usually pretty a reliable source of water, which you obviously need to process gold. But anyway, that's the end of our little video. We're going to head home this morning, so that's we found a few little relics there and a little bit of gold in the pan, so I hope you all enjoyed that, everybody, and thanks very much for watching. Best of luck on your next trip out, and happy hunting, everyone. Bye for now.